looking at this car, you may just get a little bit teary-eyed. That's because this is a 2023 Dodge Challenger, the final year of the car because Stellantis decided to kill it off after making one bad decision after another. A moment of silence now for this beast. But not to worry, even if they stop making these new, there's thousands of used ones to pick from. And in this video, I'm going to tell you all of the reasons why a V8 Dodge Challenger is one of the coolest American muscle cars you can buy. This car had humble beginnings in the 1970s to compete with the Ford Mustang and the Chevy Camaro. It only existed for a couple of generations and then went away for 20 years. Then in 2006, the Challenger came back in all its glory and wowed everybody. Look at it, old school muscle with a modern touch, extremely masculine and aggressive, striking fear into the heart and soul of anyone that comes near this car. And how could it not? It's incredibly easy to lose the back end on this car. There's millions of videos on YouTube of people crashing their Challengers left and right. This is an unruly animal, exactly like a muscle car should be, especially when you have model names like the Hellcat, Jailbreak, Demon. There are more variations of Challenger trim levels than flavors in a Baskin-Robbins store. The Challenger looks so good that Dodge barely touched the design in the 17 years that it manufactured this car. You could buy a 2015 Dodge Challenger or a 2023 like this one, and they would both basically look like the same car. Today you could buy a Scat Pack Challenger with a 6.4 liter V8 with not that many miles on it for under $30,000. Or you could go with an older car and get it for under $20,000. Just make sure you carefully check ownership history, accident history, because you know, all those videos. What can I say? The Challenger is a challenging car to drive. And if you have a death wish and you want to get the Hellcat with almost 800 horsepower, those you could buy for around $50,000. The high-powered Challengers are not for the faint-hearted, but also this is the quintessential American muscle car. It can't be a true muscle car if you're not the least bit intimidated by what you're driving. And let me tell you something, this Challenger can be scary, especially when it's wet outside. In addition to being intimidating, this car will for sure make your neighbors mad. Oh yes, you're gonna get some glaring looks from your neighbors. Be prepared to change homes every couple months. And if you end up getting a wide body Challenger, the neighbors will come chasing after you. Hey, there's a reason why names like the Jailbreak, Hellcat, and Demon exist. If you don't want to end up in jail, you could go with the much tamer RT version, although I wouldn't recommend it. 375 horsepower is just not enough for the Challenger that weighs over 4,000 pounds. With a big hefty car like the Challenger, the Scat Pack gives you the ideal amount of power. A 6.4 liter V8, 485 horsepower, 475 pound-feet of torque, enough to get you to 60 in around 4 seconds. A vented hood with a massive scoop to ensure the engine stays cool. This engine needs its own dedicated bank account because you know why? You're going to be averaging 10 miles per gallon, 9 miles per gallon, depending on how heavy your foot is. Your gas bill could end up looking like a car payment. And to remind you just how thirsty the Challenger is, the gas tank lid says fuel on it. And it's as easy to open as it can be. With the V8 Challenger, the gas station will be your second home. Or even better, just take some gas around with you. The trunk in the Challenger is plenty big enough for that. The Scat Pack also comes with the B emblem that you'll find here, on the spoiler, on the seat, and also a neat little animation on the dash. The steering wheel in the Scat Pack Challenger, it's meaty, it's big to match the proportions of this car. You have paddle shifters too, but it's easy to mix them up with the volume and radio buttons. Normally on car door panels, your door handle is usually up here somewhere. On the Challenger, it's down in the bottom part. The ergonomics in the Challenger are great because everything is very easily accessible. You have all of your standard tech, including a heated steering wheel. Because this is a V8 Challenger that belongs on a drag strip, you have things like line lock and launch control. For drive mode, you have the track option for transmission, steering, and traction, or just leave it in auto. With all those drag strip options, if you own this car, you have to take it to the drag strip at least once. Make sure you get much wider and stickier rubber because these tires that come stock are way too skinny. This might be a scary muscle car, but on the inside, it feels very normal with all of your modern tech with comfortable seats. Suede inserts, nice and supporting with lots of side bolstering. The gauges are a nice throwback to the styling of 70s muscle cars. There are seats back here, but it's really tight, good for kids, not so much for adults. The performance pages option is pretty cool, showing you power and torque levels, G-force, engine metric, all of your gauges, and so on. Inside the center console lid, you have a DB logo, Dodge Brothers, the founders of Dodge. The quad headlight design is one of the coolest aspects about this Challenger, and if you look closely, you'll see a checkered flag engraved in there. Another place to look closely is the windshield, where you'll see a tiny Challenger that's etched onto the bottom part of the windshield, another unique touch that's unexpected. It's all those little touches that make this car more than just a car. Just like the Jeep, the Challenger has a community around it. There's a whole car culture that's built around cars like these. The roads are a little wet right now, so I'm gonna take it easy on this Challenger. I don't wanna end up on YouTube with a video of me crashing another muscle car. With the Scat Pack Challenger, you're aware of the V8. There's a constant rumble, and even when you're just cruising along, you hear it, which is nice. Looking at this car from the outside, you might imagine this car to drive like a boat, kind of bouncing along on the road, but it's actually not. It gets you that sporty feeling, and the brakes are so good. It can stop this massive piece of metal really well. And then, as you can imagine, with almost 500 horsepower on this Scat Pack Challenger, the pickup on this is great. 475 pound-feet of torque. And if it wasn't raining, I would be able to demonstrate just how quick this car is. Although the Challenger can come in a manual, if you end up with the automatic, you'll be pretty satisfied because the transmission on this is great. Really quick shifts, downshifts and upshifts. With the Scat Pack, you're not going to be wishing you had more power. With the RT, you have 375 horsepower, which might not feel enough. But in this car, almost 500 horsepower hits the sweet spot. With the Challenger, don't expect great handling like you would with a new Mustang or a Corvette. But with the Challenger, you're not buying it for those reasons. This is a car you buy because it's an American icon. It looks like a Challenger from the past with its retro styling. It's bold, prominent, makes a statement. This is as masculine as a car as you can get, especially when you add the V8 rumble on top of it all. You know you're dealing with an animal when you see the bulge in the hood right in front of you as you're driving. As a daily driver or on road trips, this car would be quite nice. But don't be fooled with the completely wild side of it, because this car still has the ability to kill you. Even though I'm driving this car completely normal and tame and not really stepping on it, I can still feel the rear tires losing traction. And even driving this normal in the wet weather, it is coming loose in the back. All it takes is a little bit of wetness on the roads and this thing starts fishtailing left and right. And so with all that torque in this Challenger, it's something that you have to be very careful about. But if the weather's nice and you have big, wide, sticky rubber on those rear wheels, then you have nothing to worry about, and this car is an absolute blast. The V8 Challenger is powerful, scary, and exciting all at the same time. But there is a problem, and the problem is that the Challengers are also rental cars. But those are typically V6 Challengers, cars that you should avoid. You should only stick to the V8 muscle variety. And if you really want to stand out, you always have the Hellcat or Demon options. It's sad to see that the Dodge Challenger ended production in 2023, but I have a strong feeling that the car will come back from the dead. The Dodge Challenger is special and unique enough to where it truly deserves a second stab at life.